friends. Welcome. Good afternoon, except for those of you who are calling in from Hawaii, for whom it's still good morning. And we're so glad that you're here today for our second training for references here in the national setting of the United Church of Christ. So we are thrilled to be in our second week with the new UCC Ministerial Profiles portal. Many of you may know that our last portal was very good, and the digital platform on which it sits was not going to be supported after the end of this year. And so we, about 18 months ago, began doing some work seeing what we could do about a new platform. And so we have been working with Saran Systems, a fantastic partner based in Kentucky, who also does the profile work for the Christian Church Disciples of Christ, our sister denomination. And we've been so delighted to roll this out and to learn all these new things about our system. And so we're glad to be here today to just give a brief overview for those of you who serve as references in the system, to sort of learn about how the new system will work in that way. There are a few changes, but it's pretty easy and pretty intuitive. I'm joined today by two members of the MESA team, the Reverend Jeff Nelson, who's our Minister for Ministerial Calls and Transitions, and who really came into this job knowing 18 months ago or 20 months ago that this would be his first big project. And he's done a really extraordinary job with it. And also Mr. Daryl Ludwig, our Profiles Administrator. Many of you, if you're an authorized minister, or even if you are a reference, you might have had occasion to talk with Daryl, as he is the person we typically go to whenever there's any sort of questions whatsoever. For those of you who aren't clear, the Ministerial Excellence Support and Authorization, or MESA, ministry team here in the national setting, is the team in the United Church of Christ which is charged with developing best practices and resources related to ministerial authorization, oversight, as well as search and call. So we're delighted to be here today. I'm going to hand it back to you, Alex, so that you can introduce your team and we'll get started with the training.
Thank you so much. I am Alex Clay, CEO of Saran Systems. And it has been our privilege to partner with MESA and the UCC over this past year to bring the new Minister Profiles portal system to life. That went live last week, and it's been a busy couple of weeks for us getting everything settled in and polishing a few things up. So we're so glad that you can join us today, and we can give you just a run through of what the process is like for a reference that would be contacted to speak on behalf of a minister who is looking to enter circulation. I am joined today by two other staff members from Saran. Chris Widener is going to moderate any questions we have at the end. There is a reaction button in Zoom as we get to the end of the presentation. We'll open up for a Q&A. The other Saran representative with me today is Terry Hatmaker, our support engineer. And Terry is going to walk us through the profile portal from the reference perspective. So I think we'll go ahead and jump in, and I'll be quiet and let Terry do his thing. Thank you all so much for joining us this afternoon.
I just want to thank you all for taking the time to come out and go through this new UCC portal with us. This, as everyone has said, this is a walkthrough of the portal from a reference perspective. And from this, for this particular presentation, what we're going to do is we're going to assume that as a reference, you're not in the UCC database. So what I have here is an email that Glenn Gum has received from David Burns. David Burns has requested a reference. So Glenn gets this email once the minister requests the reference, and in this there is a link for setting the password and completing the reference. So If you receive an email like this, you might have received an email last week where you could set your password. Same kind of thing, but this was more specific when a minister requests a reference from you. So when you receive an email like this, you just have to come in, click on the set password and complete reference. And that'll bring you to the Engage UCC Profiles portal. Here, we're going to set a new password. Once I have entered the password and confirmed it, I click Submit. Now the password's been reset, and now I can log into the portal. The first thing that happens when you log in for the first time is that you'll see a Terms of Use page. Read through this information. This is what you're agreeing to. And if you scroll, you go all the way through the information. At the end, you'll see a log out and agree and continue. If for some reason you don't agree with anything on this page, you can click log out and you will be taken out. You'll be logged out of the portal. But in our case, we're going to agree and continue, and this will allow you to continue into the UCC portal. Now, because this particular individual, Glenn Gum, was not entered into the UCC database prior to this, he's going to be required to fill in some minimum information. And one of the pieces of information that's already been put in is his name and his email address. Now we need to enter in a telephone number. So I enter the telephone number, and the telephone type for this is going to be a mobile phone. So I can select any of these options here. And once that's filled out, I click Submit. The number was added. And now the other piece of required information is address. So in this case, we're just going to quickly enter this information in. You fill in at least the first line of your address, then your city, state, and country, as well as your zip. With that information, we click Update. And that information has been updated. And as you can see, it takes us immediately right to the reference for Dave Burns. So since we're doing this, we're just going to go right into it, and we'll complete the reference for Dave Burns. Now, one of the things you can do is you can see that there are 5 different text boxes. Each of these text boxes have simple formatting like bold, italics, underline. You can indent, and you can use bullets or numbers. Also, if there's a limitation on the number of characters that can be added to a text box, you will see that limitation right here where it says, in our case, for this first one, for role and responsibility, it's 150 character limit. Now, that 150 characters includes both alphanumeric characters as well as punctuation and spaces. Okay, so any of those types of things will take away character from the character count. So in this particular case, I'm just going to drop in some dummy text, and you can see when I did this, I get 57 characters remaining. Now I can move to the next text box. Another thing you can do is, let's say that you weren't online, but you knew that you were going to get this request, and you already know the questions for the portal, and so you've done all of this in Word. Well, I have a document here in Microsoft Word, and in this document is just the particular answer for the areas of strength. Okay, and so what I can do is I can just copy this information, go back to Engage, and then paste that right in there. And as you can see, it not only pasted in, but it has maintained the specific formatting that I've requested, including the bullet points and bolds and italic. Once you have that entered, then you just go through and complete the rest of this. And we will do. All right. And so once you have all of this done, you have an option. You could save the draft and come back to it another time, or you can submit it. In our case, what we're going to do is, so that we can look at another part of the portal, we're going to save our draft and we'll come back to it at the end. So we'll click on save, and it says, you sure? So we're only going to save it for now. That draft has been saved. And now we have been taken to the reference request page. Now, since this is the first reference request that Glenn's received, he has this one open request. And if I went to all requests, he only has the one request because it's his first one. If you had more than one request over the years, then you're going to see a number of these blocks with names and when the information was completed. If they are completed, you'll see a green header where the minister's name is. If there are any information that's not filled out, they'll always have a yellow header for the reference block. And so you can go and you can look at any open requests you have or all requests. Now, let's go to the home page. So I went to the, let me close this. What I did is I went up to the right-hand side here. There is a navigation menu here. And so if I click on that, it slides out from the right. And this is where I can log out of the portal. I can go to the home, personal profile, or reference request. Reference request is the page that we're in right now. And if you look up in the blue bar here, you can see that this area of the portal always tells you what page you're on. So we're on reference request here. Let's go back to the home page, because now that Glenn is in the system, the next time he logs in, it's going to bring him to this page. And so as a reference, what he's always going to see is his personal profile and any open reference requests. Now, this area will show up to 3 blocks of reference requests. And if he has more than 3, there'll be a link underneath that says, let's say he had 8, it'll say, and 5 other reference requests. And you can click that link and then see all of your open requests. If you want to go back to that reference request page, I can click view all reference requests, and it brings me back to that page here. Let's go back to home. So that's how you deal with references. Let's go and look at personal profile. We'll come back and finish out Dave Burns here in a second. So on the left side, you have personal profile, where you have your name and your location. There's also a place for a photo. Now, in order to update any of the information, of course, we just added that information, but if you needed to add any information to that, you click on the Edit Personal Profile, and now we're in the Personal Profile page. In the upper left here is where you can set name and a photo. Now, Glenn's middle name is Eddie, and that's what he usually goes by. So we can enter in a preferred name, and we'll put in Eddie here. And you can see out of all of these fields here, only the preferred name is one that you can change. These others, if any changes need to be made to this, you'll need to contact the Mesa team and they'll be able to make those changes. So like in this case, I would want to contact the Mesa team and have that middle name changed to Edward. All right, so with that change, I'll click update. Changes were saved. And now you see that his preferred name is in parentheses here in the name block. And in the upper right, his name changed from Glenn up here to Eddie because we used the preferred name up here. Now, in addition, you can add a photo. So if I click on edit again, I can include a photo in my profile. Now, if you're on a phone or a tablet, then what you can do here is you can actually take a photo from those devices and it will bring it directly into the UCC portal. I'm not on that kind of device, so I need to upload a photo. And so I'm going to click upload and click choose file, and then I'll click open. And now I see an image preview of my photo, and I'll click upload. Now it's been added. And it's saved, and now his photo is showing here, and it's showing up in the around the navigation menu here next to his name. The other blocks here are where you can add or modify phones and email, as well as edit any information on your address. So I just entered that information, but if I want to click and make any changes, I just click edit, make the changes, and then click update. On the phones and emails, one of the things that's different with this system compared to the last is that you can have more than one email address associated with an account. So right now we have one phone and one email. That's the minimum requirement for a profile. So, I mean, for an account in the profile, in the UCC profile portal. And so, but you can add as many as you want. If you want to add a phone, you just click on add phone. And again, we have these phone types. This time I'm going to add a business phone to it. And then I click add. Notice there is no delete button or anything like that because we only have one. If I click on add, the number's been added. But when I typed this in, I typed it in wrong. So I'm going to click on edit and make a correction, and that should be an 8. But now you see that I also have a delete button, and with that delete button, I have that available on either one of these. But once I delete that one, the delete button will not be available, won't be active, because you always have to have one phone number. Well, now I've made that update. I'll click update here, and that's it. In the same manner, you do the same thing with your email. If I click on add email, I can add a new email address. And click add. That's now been added. Well, this is another email address that other people might be contacting me by, but this is really my primary email address. So I want to make sure that the UCC portal knows that, and the folks that are looking maybe know that as well. So I click on edit, and now I have a make primary button here. So I click on make primary, and now that's been set. You can see that a yellow label has been added to that email address. And also, just like under phones, when you have more than one email, you also have a delete button. I'm going to update this, and now we're set with respect to our email. That's all there is to the personal profile. It's a very straightforward process. If you have any questions, you can always contact Mesa. And now let's go back to our homepage. And what we want to do is we want to complete David Burns. And so we want to go and click on review here, and this will allow us to review our reference. Now, one thing I neglected to say at the beginning here was that the block render reference for Dave Burns is view minister's legal consent. So if you click on that link, you can read the legal consent that the minister's given. And when you're done with it, you just click it again, and it'll hide it. The blue text at the top is also information regarding references, and both of these blocks would be good for you to read over and understand. Well, I've now had time to think of the reference. I'm good with everything that's in here. So I just come down to the bottom, and I saved this draft. Now I'm ready to submit this reference. So all I do is click on submit. And so I'm getting an error here. It says here, please address the following errors. The areas for improvement section must be 900 characters or less. So that means I went over, and I missed that when I was doing my review. Well, if I look at the areas of improvement area here, you can see down at the bottom left, I have some text in red that says that I'm 669 characters over the 900 character limit. All right, so I'm going to have to revise this some. And so I'm just going to take out some text. Now I'm good. You can see that the text has turned black. So 120 characters are remaining. So that's good. So I'm good there. And then I come back down and I'll submit it again. Submit the reference and say, okay. And now your reference has been submitted. You click OK, and it takes you back to the reference request page. And so that is an overview of the new UCC Profiles portal for references. So we'd like to open that up now to any questions you might have.
I did not have any direct questions. There's the one question in the chat, and in case people weren't reading in there, it said, if you're a minister who has been asked to do a reference, do you sign into your own UCC profile portal, or do you create a new profile as a reference?
As long as the email request goes to the email address or an email address that's in your system, it will go directly to your account. So when folk are saying, would you be my reference? It's a great idea to say, yes, please use this email address when you submit the request in Engage. You can print the reference that you submit. I'm going to let Alex answer this, although I think the answer is no, but I could be wrong.
So Terry's showing us right here where you can go in and access the reference that you have filled out. There's not a form to or a button to sort of download this, but you could definitely print this out of your browser and it should come through pretty cleanly.
Right, so I'm going up to the file menu now and clicking on print, and it brings up print dialog. I can save this out as a PDF, or I can print it to my printer, either one, but this is what it looks like when it's printed out.
Excellent, thanks. Well, if there aren't other questions, we're so glad that you came today. If you do have questions or if you experience issues with the system, please don't hesitate to email us at profiles@ucc.org. Thanks for being here today.
Everybody take care. I hope you have a great rest of your week and a wonderful holiday celebration.